know, it's the kind of book that a lot of women would pick up and say, yeah, I agree with all this. But ideally, you want men to pick it up and go, yeah, okay, this is what I should be doing. How do you get men to pick something like this up and read your book?
Well, I think that's the million dollar question, isn't it? When I was writing it, I was so aware of, not wanting to, I guess, preach to the choir per se. Like, women know all this stuff. Perhaps we don't always have the words to articulate it, but we know all this stuff. It's how we live our lives. So you're right in that the only way this message really cuts through is if we can get men to pick it up too. And I guess the way that, that I do think there are many men out there, lots of men who want to do more, who, after things like Sarah Everard and stuff like that, are struck by the women around them, how they feel unsafe. Almost all men have some women in their life that they love or care about, and to think that they might be able to do something. I think often, though, I guess similar to a lot of the anti-racism work that lots of people did in the last few years, people can feel like they want to do something but don't really know where to start. And so I think this book is sort of offering you, okay, you want to do something, well, here's where to go next, really.
Yeah. After high-profile incidents like, for example, you mentioned there Sarah Everard, most recently Zara Aleena and Sabina Nessa last year. How frustrating is it when you see the backlash from women, which is great, and you see all the protesting from Reclaim These Streets and people like that. But when you see hashtags like not all men, how frustrating is that in terms of missing the point? It's a bit like Black Lives Matter one where people say, well, all lives matter. It's like, yeah, no one's not saying that. You missed it. It's gone over your head.
I think there's two strands of that. I think there's one strand of people who use that not all men in a really disingenuous way. They know that that's not the argument that's being made, but they don't want to have that conversation, to be introspective, because doing this work properly is a huge change, like a societal change, to recognise that actually women in many ways are still treated as second-class citizens, and that the harms that women face just when they're going about their daily lives. To change all that requires a lot of upheaval and changing things that maybe we take for granted. So I think there's one camp of people who, it's in really bad faith they make that argument. Not all men. It's this kind of straw man argument. They know that's not what people are really arguing, but it's a convenient sort of distraction, right? Those people, fine, we're not going to engage those people because they've got their reasons. But then I think there's a much larger group of people who say that because they feel sort of attacked, and they don't really think that they deserve to be attacked, and they just need to sort of have someone kind of hold their hand and say, actually, that's not what's going on here, and be educated a bit more. And I think I'm optimistic, I'm hopeful that there are a lot of people in that camp as well who maybe defer to that out of sort of semi-defensiveness, but actually if you reach out, hold an olive branch out, there are lots of people who think, oh, actually, no, I can be part of this, they're not attacking me. A lot of this, actually, that when I was researching the book, I found how much this would improve men's lives, actually, if we confronted a lot of the things that are really harmful here. So I think, maybe over the past decade, there's been lots of talk about toxic masculinity. And I don't really like that phrase, because I think lots of men hear it and they think you're saying men are toxic. And that's not what it means. But if that's what lots of people hear, well, then it's not useful, is it? Because that immediately makes people say, no, I'm shutting down, I don't want to listen. But the argument that is being made about that is it is something that men should listen to. There are lots of parts of how men are expected to behave that are really difficult. They're really limiting on men being breadwinners, being strong, being tough. All those things that men feel like they have to be in order to be a proper man are incredibly limiting on men as well, and really dangerous for women who experience the fallout of that angry masculinity. And so, in some ways we could say, men, we can get you on side by appealing to, your wife, your daughter, your mother, your sister. But in other ways, in more long-term ways, I think men should see the benefits in us all doing this work. If we reduced, the power of patriarchy and the harmful things that men have to do or feel they have to do as well, that would be better for men. If men could feel like they could spend more time with their children, or feel like they could speak more openly about their feelings, or feel like they were able to express feelings other than just anger, and that wouldn't lessen their status as a man. All of those things surely would be better for men as well.